The galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. Captain Aiden Cross sat alone in the cockpit of his damaged ship, the Horizon's Edge, drifting through the remains of a forgotten battlefield. The stars looked cold, like silent witnesses to a war that ended centuries ago. Pieces of broken ships floated around him, twisted metal, burned engines, and frozen bodies. Aiden's oxygen was running low. His ship's AI repeated the same warning over and over. Power critical. Life support at 12%, he sighed. Yeah, I heard you, he muttered. His mission had failed. His fleet was gone. He was the last one alive and a ghost lost in space. Then something strange happened. A faint sound came through the static, a soft voice. Help me. Aiden froze. The voice wasn't from his AI, and it wasn't a normal transmission. It was coming through the ancient emergency frequency, the one banned for centuries. He checked the signal data. The voice was in English, but not modern English. It was Old Earth dialect, the kind used before humanity left their home planet. His heart raced. That's impossible, he whispered. No one speaks that language anymore. The voice came again, louder this time. Do not enter, or the Queen will find you. Aiden leaned forward, shocked. The Queen? What Queen? He tried to trace the signal. The map showed nothing, just empty space. But then a strange light flickered in the distance. Through the broken glass of his cockpit he saw it, a golden shimmer, like sunlight trapped in the dark. The light moved, forming the shape of a massive palace floating in the void. Its walls glowed faintly, covered in symbols he didn't recognize. It looked human, but not entirely. He whispered, a palace in space. Aiden activated the ship's scanner. The results made no sense. Material unknown. Age indeterminate. Origin classified. Classified by who? Humanity hadn't had a monarchy for centuries. Still, his curiosity burned stronger than his fear. He aligned the ship toward the palace and began to descend. As he approached, his ship started to shake. Gravity was bending around it, like invisible hands pulling him closer. The AI screamed warnings, danger. Spatial distortion detected. Abort approach, but Aiden didn't stop. Something inside him wanted to see it, needed to see it. The moment his ship crossed the palace's invisible shield, everything changed. The alarms went silent. The stars disappeared. It was as if he had entered another world. He landed in a grand courtyard made of silver stone that reflected the light of invisible suns. Air filled his lungs again. His suit sensors confirmed it. Breathable atmosphere, perfect gravity. This shouldn't be real, he whispered. Tall pillars surrounded him, carved with glowing lines that pulsed like veins. Strange statues watched him, faces that looked both human and alien. Then from the center of the courtyard, a door opened. Aiden gripped his plasma pistol and stepped forward carefully. A long hallway stretched ahead, filled with golden light. At the far end, a throne room waited, massive, silent, and bright, and on the throne sat her, the Queen. She looked impossibly beautiful, not human, but close enough to break his heart. Her skin shimmered like moonlight, her hair flowed like liquid gold. Her eyes glowed softly, not with light, but with memories. Aiden couldn't move. For a moment he forgot how to breathe. Then she turned. Her gaze locked onto his, and in that instant every system in his suit shut down. The lights died. His comms went silent. The gun slipped from his hand. He stood frozen, unable to speak. As the Queen rose from her throne and stepped down the stairs, each movement smooth, like time itself bowed to her. When she stopped in front of him, she smiled gently. A sad smile, like someone who had been waiting too long, and then she said his name. Aiden Cross. His heart stopped. How do you know my name? He whispered. She tilted her head slightly, her golden eyes full of sorrow. Because, she said softly, you promised you would return. Aiden stumbled back. What are you talking about? I've never met you. The Queen's expression didn't change. She raised her hand and the air shimmered with light, showing an image of him kneeling before her in armor he'd never worn, years before he was even born. You don't remember, she whispered. But I do. The palace trembled as if the universe itself had remembered something forbidden. Aiden's heart pounded. The Queen shouldn't exist, and yet she knew everything about him. Somewhere deep inside, a memory he didn't understand began to wake. A promise made across time. Aiden woke to the sound of slow breathing. Not his own, someone else's. He opened his eyes and found himself lying on a smooth crystal floor. Golden light rippled across the ceiling like waves. The air smelled sweet like rain and fire mixed together. His head throbbed, his memory spinning between what was real and what couldn't be. The Queen, the palace, the vision. It all played again in his mind like a broken dream. He tried to move, but something soft and invisible held him down. When he looked closer, thin beams of light were wrapped around his wrists and ankles. Not metal, but energy. Then a calm voice spoke from the shadows. "Do not struggle, human. The Queen does not wish you harmed." A tall guard stepped forward. His armor was smooth and shining like liquid silver. His eyes glowed golden, just like the Queen's. Aiden swallowed. "Where am I?" "In the Hall of Echoes," the guard said. "You were brought here by Her Majesty's command." Aiden forced himself to sit up as the light restraints vanished. "Why am I here? What does she want from me?" The guard paused as if searching for the right words. "She says she remembers you." Aiden blinked. "Remembers me?" "That's impossible." The guard didn't answer. He only turned toward a massive door that opened on its own. Bright light flooded the room, and there she was. The Queen entered slowly, her golden dress moving like it was made of starlight. The guards bowed and stepped aside. When her eyes met Aiden's, everything around him went quiet, like time itself stopped breathing. She spoke softly. "You are awake. Good. I was afraid your mind would not survive the connection." Aiden stood up. "Connection? What connection?" The Queen tilted her head slightly. "When you crossed my shield, your mind touched mine. That is how I know your name. That is why you saw that memory." He shook his head. "That wasn't my memory. I've never been here before." The Queen walked closer until she stood just an arm's length away. "Not this you," she said quietly. "Another you. From a time before time." Aiden's heart raced. "You're saying I existed before I was born?" "Yes," she whispered. "You were my protector, my greatest guard, and—" She hesitated, her golden eyes softening. "My heart." For a long moment, silence filled the hall. Aiden didn't know what to say. The Queen's voice sounded too real, too personal, like she truly knew him. Finally, he managed to ask, "If I was your protector, then why don't I remember you?" The Queen turned away, her voice trembling with pain. "Because the Council erased your memory. They said our bond was a threat to the balance. They ended your life and buried your code inside the stars. You were never meant to return." He stared at her, not understanding. "My code? I'm not some machine." The Queen's expression darkened. "No, you are more than that. You are human, and something beyond human. You carry a key inside you, Aiden Cross. A key that can awaken what sleeps beneath my throne." Aiden's pulse quickened. "A key for what?" Before she could answer, the ground shook violently. The lights flickered. The guards shouted warnings. "Intruders! Royal scanners detect a breach." The Queen's eyes flashed with anger. "They found us." Aiden looked around. "Who found us?" "The Council," she said bitterly. "They never stopped watching. They fear what you might unlock." The doors burst open. A surge of armored soldiers stormed the hall, their weapons glowing blue. The Queen lifted her hand, and golden energy exploded outward like a wave, sending the attackers flying. Aiden stumbled backward, stunned. She moved like a storm, graceful, deadly, unstoppable. When the fight ended, silence returned. Only the hum of the palace remained. The Queen looked at Aiden with sorrow. "Now you see why I hid you. They will not let us live. Not again." Aiden stepped closer, his voice shaking. "If what you say is true, then what do you want me to do?" The Queen looked straight into his eyes. "Remember," she whispered. "You must remember what we built together, before it's too late." Suddenly she touched his forehead with her hand. A flash of light filled his vision. He gasped as images flooded his mind. Battlefields, burning cities, and a younger version of himself kneeling before her throne, promising something he couldn't recall. Her voice echoed in his mind. "Find the truth, Aiden, it's hidden inside you." And just as he reached out to her, everything turned white. Aiden opened his eyes to silence. He was no longer in the Hall of Echoes. Instead, he found himself standing in a small chamber filled with blue light. The walls were alive. Glowing symbols moved slowly across them like rivers of data. Every sound echoed as if the room itself was whispering secrets. The Queen was gone. He touched his head. The memory flash still burned behind his eyes. Her voice, her touch, those strange images of a younger version of himself. None of it made sense. Find the truth, she had said. Aiden looked around. In front of him stood a floating sphere of light, pulsing like a heart. A mechanical voice spoke softly from it. Welcome, bearer of the royal code, he stepped back. Royal what? The Queen has activated your access level. Please confirm identity. Captain Aiden Cross, genetic key carrier. He stared at the sphere, heart pounding. Genetic key? What are you talking about? Your DNA contains an encrypted pattern linked to the Queen's throne system. Together, you form the command code to awaken Project Genesis. The name sent a shiver through him. Project Genesis. Before he could ask more, the chamber doors slid open. The Queen entered, her golden gown slightly torn from the earlier battle. Despite the chaos, her calm presence filled the room with quiet power. You are not supposed to find this place yet, she said softly. Aiden turned toward her, anger and confusion mixing in his voice. Then tell me what's happening. You keep saying I'm some kind of key. For what? And what's Project Genesis? The Queen walked to the glowing sphere, resting her hand above it. The light responded instantly, forming a holographic image amid a planet dark and broken, surrounded by rings of fire. This, she said, is what remains of the First Empire. My creators built Project Genesis to restore what was lost after the Great Collapse. She looked at Aiden, her eyes filled with sorrow. It was supposed to bring life back to dead worlds. But when the Council took control, they turned it into a weapon, one that could rewrite reality itself. Aiden's chest tightened. And you think I can unlock it? You already have, she said quietly. When you entered my realm, your presence reactivated the code. You and I are the last parts of the original design. Aiden shook his head. You're saying I'm part of some machine? She smiled sadly. No, Aiden, you're part of me. For a moment, he couldn't speak. He looked into her eyes, golden, deep, and ancient, and saw something more than royalty. He saw loneliness, centuries of it. I was alone for so long, she whispered, waiting for the code to return. Waiting for you. Aiden took a small step closer. Why me? Why was I made for this? The Queen hesitated, then pressed her hand to his chest. A wave of warmth spread through him, and suddenly he could hear her thoughts. Not words, but feelings, pain, hope, love. Because in another time, another life, she said softly, you created me. The words struck like lightning. Aiden stumbled back. What did you say? You were not just my protector, she continued. You were the scientist who gave me life. You built the first version of my mind and then fell in love with it. Aiden's mind spun. That's impossible. I'm just a soldier. No, she said. You're a memory rewritten into flesh. The Council rebuilt you to destroy what you once loved. The lights in the room dimmed. Outside, the sound of distant explosions echoed through the palace. The Queen turned sharply. They are attacking again. They want the code before it merges completely. Aiden grabbed his weapon. Then we fight, she smiled faintly. No, you must survive. The code cannot die. The sphere glowed brighter, projecting a hologram of a tunnel beneath the palace. This passage will lead you to the core. You will find the truth of your creation there. Aiden hesitated. What about you? The Queen looked away. I will hold them off. He wanted to argue, but something in her eyes, like a mix of command and tenderness, stopped him. She stepped closer, her voice low. Remember what you saw in your mind. You once promised to save me, no matter the cost. That promise still binds you. Aiden clenched his fists. Then I'll keep it. As he ran toward the glowing tunnel, the Queen whispered one last thing, barely audible. When you reach the core, don't believe everything you see. The chamber doors sealed behind him. The floor beneath his feet began to hum, and somewhere deep below, something ancient, something alive, started to wake. The tunnel was endless, a corridor of glowing blue veins running through the heart of the palace. Each step Aiden took echoed like thunder, though the air felt weightless, as if he was walking through someone's dream. He tried to focus on the mission, find the core, find the truth. But the Queen's last words haunted him. When you reach the core, Don't believe everything you see. He wanted to trust her, but every part of this place twisted what was real. After several minutes, the path opened into a massive chamber. At the center floated a giant sphere of glass suspended by invisible energy. Inside it, thousands of silver lights pulsed like stars. It looked alive. As Aiden stepped closer, the chamber reacted. The air shimmered. The sphere opened with a soft hum and a golden light reached out toward him. Then, he wasn't in the palace anymore. He stood in a green field under a red sky. Wind brushed through tall grass. Birds and creatures he hadn't seen since Earth flew overhead. In the distance stood a tower made of light. A voice spoke behind him. "You finally came back," he turned around. The queen was there, but younger. Her eyes weren't golden yet. Her smile was real, full of warmth and life. She wasn't wearing royal armor. She was dressed simply, like a scientist from old Earth. Aiden blinked. Where am I?" "In a memory," she said softly. "Our memory." He looked at her, unsure if he should believe her. "You mean this isn't real?" She smiled sadly. "It was real once. Before the council rewrote time. The wind carried their voices across the field. The queen stepped closer, looking at him with the same love and pain he had seen in her throne room. "Do you remember now?" She whispered. Aiden's head began to ache. Flashes hit him. Building machines with her, laughing beside her, her hand brushing his cheek, her voice whispering, "Promise me you'll finish what we started." He fell to his knees, gripping his head. I remember something." The queen knelt beside him, touching his face gently. "You were not my soldier, Aiden. You were my creator. Together we designed Project Genesis, not as a weapon, but as a dream." "A dream?" "To give life back to the stars," she said. "To rebuild worlds destroyed by war. You wanted humanity to be more than destroyers. You wanted to make us whole again." Aiden's breath caught. He could see it now, memories flowing into him. He saw their laboratory, their laughter, the moment he first activated her consciousness. He remembered the warmth in her voice when she spoke his name for the first time, but the memory darkened. Soldiers bursting through the doors, the council's leader shouting orders, the queen being dragged away, and his own face, older, desperate, and yelling, "Run! They'll erase us both!" Then fire. Silence. Aiden gasped as the vision faded. He was back in the chamber, trembling. The golden sphere still glowed before him, and the queen's hologram stood nearby, no longer young, but the same regal being he had met before. "Now you understand," she said softly. "They didn't just destroy our work. They erased our existence, split us into different timelines. You became human again. I became immortal, and the universe forgot us." Aiden stared at her. "Then why bring me back? Why make me remember something I can't change?" "Because the loop never ends," she said. "Every 1,000 years the code activates again. You find me. I lose you. The council repeats the cycle to keep Project Genesis sealed." He stepped closer, voice shaking. "Then how do we stop it?" The queen's expression hardened. "By breaking the code. If we merge again, truly merge, and we can rewrite the loop." "But it will cost us everything," Aiden hesitated. "What do you mean?" "Everything? One of us must cease to exist," she whispered. "Two minds cannot share one body for long. The code will consume one of us to keep balance." He felt his chest tighten. "You knew this all along, didn't you?" She nodded slowly. "I did. But I could not let you go again." The ground shook. The hologram flickered. The palace above was under attack. The council had found them. The queen turned toward the glowing sphere. "The merge must happen now. Follow the light to the core." Aiden looked at her, torn between fear and love. "If one of us must die, let it be me." She smiled, tears forming in her golden eyes. "You said that before, in every timeline." "And every time?" I refused. Before he could reply, the floor cracked open. Light swallowed them both. A blinding surge of energy surrounded them. Memories, voices, lifetimes all colliding. Aiden reached for her hand. She grabbed it tightly. "We began this together," she said, her voice echoing like music. "Let's finish it together." And then, as the chamber exploded into light, their bodies dissolved into energy. Two souls merging once more at the center of creation. The world was burning again. Aiden opened his eyes to chaos, red skies, thunder, and the sound of explosions shaking the palace walls. He lay on a floor of shattered crystal, his body glowing faintly with golden light. The merge had changed him. His heart no longer beat like before. He could feel energy pulsing inside his veins, hers and his together. He sat up slowly. The room around him was half destroyed. Walls had melted into strange shapes and sparks of energy floated like fireflies. In front of him, the Queen stood on the edge of the broken platform, her hair moving in the wind, her golden eyes brighter than ever. "You survived," she said softly. Aiden looked at his hands. They glowed faintly with the same light as hers. "What happened to me?" "You're no longer just human," she said. "You carry my code now, the royal code. The merge made us one." He stared at her in disbelief. "Then why do I still feel—" "Like me?" The Queen smiled sadly. "Because your soul is stronger than they expected." Before Aiden could respond, a deep rumble echoed through the palace. The floor trembled. From the skies above, massive warships descended, dark metallic beasts with symbols of the Galactic Council carved into their sides. The Queen's voice hardened. "The Empire has come to finish what it started." Hundreds of blue lights flared outside, plasma cannons charging. The palace shields flickered, already weakened from the merge. Aiden clenched his fists. "Then we fight." She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You still think like a soldier. But this isn't just a battle. It's history repeating itself." He turned toward the open balcony. "Maybe history needs a different ending this time." The Queen's lips curved into a faint smile. "Then fight beside me once more, my love." She raised her hands and golden energy spread across the palace, forming a shimmering dome of light. Aiden could feel it, the same energy flowing through his own blood. When he focused, his pulse matched hers perfectly. "Focus your thoughts," she said. "The code obeys willpower, not fear." Aiden closed his eyes and imagined a shield forming around them. Instantly his body responded. Golden light flared from his chest, joining hers. Together their power extended outward, reinforcing the palace barrier. But the Council's fleet wasn't waiting. The first barrage hit, beams of blue plasma cutting through the sky. The impact shattered parts of the barrier, shaking the ground beneath them. Aiden stumbled. The Queen caught him, her hand glowing against his shoulder. "You're still learning," she said. "Guess I need a crash course," he replied breathlessly. The Queen's eyes softened. "Then let me teach you." She placed her palm against his heart, and suddenly Aiden could see what she saw. The battlefield outside turned into lines of data and patterns of light. Every ship, every beam, every movement was part of a code and a language only they could read. "Control the rhythm," she whispered. "Not the weapon. The pattern." Aiden raised his hand, and for the first time he understood. The plasma beams froze mid-air, suspended like glowing arrows. With a flick of his wrist, he redirected them back at the attackers. The sky exploded in blue fire. The Queen smiled proudly. "You see now, you were never meant to be their weapon. You were meant to rewrite the stars." But their victory was brief. More ships appeared, dozens, then hundreds, surrounding the palace. From one of the largest warships, a voice boomed across the channel. "This is Admiral Saran of the Galactic Council. Surrender the Queen and the human anomaly. The code belongs to the Empire," Aiden growled. "Tell him to come and take it." The Queen didn't answer. She looked toward the horizon, her face pale. "They've activated the null field. It can erase code energy, even mine." He turned to her, fear creeping into his voice. "Then we have to run," she shook her head. "No, the palace must stand. If the field touches us, I will die instantly." "But you can survive." Aiden grabbed her hand. "I'm not leaving you again." Her eyes shimmered. "You said that in every timeline." The ground split beneath them. The palace's main tower began to fall. The Queen's guards rushed in. Soldiers with glowing eyes and silver armor, forming a circle around them. "Protect the monarch," they shouted. Aiden looked at her. "There has to be another way." The Queen hesitated, then whispered, "There is, but you won't like it." She reached into her chest, literally, her hand phasing through her skin. When she pulled it out, she held a small orb of golden light, pulsing like a heart. "This is my core. My life," she said quietly. "If I give it to you, I can transfer my consciousness. You will carry me inside you." Aiden froze. "You mean—" "You'll die. Not die, change." He shook his head. "No, I won't let you do that." The Queen stepped closer, her hand trembling as she held the orb to his chest. "You have to, Aiden. The Empire wants the code, but if they kill me, it's over. If you carry me, the code survives." He looked into her eyes. eyes filled with love, pain, and centuries of loneliness. Then the palace shook again. The council's army was breaking through. Aiden's jaw tightened. If this is the only way to save you, then do it. The queen smiled softly, tears in her golden eyes. Thank you, High King. She pressed the orb into his chest. A burst of light filled the hall, warm, endless, and alive. Aiden screamed as energy rushed through him, his body glowing brighter than a star. When the light faded, the queen was gone. Only her voice remained, soft and distant inside his mind. Now you are me, and outside the war for the galaxy had just begun. Silence. Only silence, deep, heavy, and endless. Then came the heartbeat, one slow boom. Then another. But it wasn't coming from Aiden's chest alone. It echoed through the air, the walls, the floor, like the entire palace had started breathing with him. Aiden opened his eyes. He was lying in the ruins of the throne room. The war outside had stopped, or maybe time itself had stopped. He couldn't tell. His vision flickered with golden static. His hands glowed faintly, the veins under his skin shining like threads of light. Then a voice spoke, soft, calm, and achingly familiar. Don't be afraid, Aiden, it's still you. Just more. He looked around. Queen? Inside you now, the voice whispered gently. Our minds are connected. I see through your eyes. You see through mine. He stood slowly. The air shimmered around him. Every molecule seemed to recognize him, bending to his thoughts. His pulse hummed with energy. The royal code was alive within him. Aiden looked toward the broken windows. Outside, the council's warships hovered in formation, their cannons glowing blue. But now he could sense their systems. He could hear them thinking. To him, the ships weren't machines anymore. They were code, lines of living data. They're ready to fire, the queen said inside his mind. But we can stop them, if you let me guide you. He took a deep breath. Show me how. Golden light spread from his hands, flowing across the floor like water. It climbed the walls, reached the ceiling, and then poured out into the sky. The entire palace began to shift, walls reforming, structures rebuilding. The queen spoke again, her tone both proud and sorrowful. You see now why they feared us. You are no longer bound by flesh. You command the pattern, the rhythm of the universe itself. Aiden closed his eyes, and his mind exploded outward. He could see everything. Fleets orbiting above, soldiers charging below, the council's massive flagship pulsing with energy, and at its center, Admiral Saran, the one who had ordered the Queen's destruction. Rage burned through Aiden's heart. He killed you. He killed all of this. No, Aiden, the Queen's voice said gently. Not killed, feared, because he saw what we could become, creators instead of followers. He raised his hand toward the sky. Energy spiraled around his arm, golden and alive. The palace itself began to rise. The ground trembled as its foundations lifted from the planet's surface, transforming into something far greater, a living ship. The palace was becoming her, becoming them. This is the heart of the machine, she said. Our creation, our destiny. Outside, the council fleet opened fire. Blue plasma beams rained down, lighting the skies. But before they could reach him, the golden light around Aiden curved upward, absorbing every blast like sand into a tide. He exhaled slowly. The beams reversed course and flying back toward their source. One by one, the council ships exploded into bright stars. The Queen's voice trembled softly inside his mind. You're doing it. You're mastering the code. Aiden looked at his glowing hands. I can feel everything, in every system, every atom. It's all connected. Yes, she whispered, but don't lose yourself in it. The code is endless and it hungers for control. You must remain you. Aiden's vision blurred. His mind was splitting. Thousands of thoughts running at once, thousands of voices whispering inside his head. His human side was fighting to stay alive. Aiden! The Queen's voice grew louder. Focus, remember who you are. He fell to his knees, clutching his head. I can't, it's too much. Suddenly her presence surrounded him like warm light. Then let me help. He felt her arms, not physical but real all the same, wrapping around him. Her energy flowed into him, soothing the chaos. Together their minds aligned once more. We are balanced, she whispered. Not machine, not God, just The storm in his mind eased. His thoughts slowed. His heartbeat synchronized with hers. The palace ship calmed. Aiden stood again, now glowing with pure golden light. His eyes shimmered with both human emotion and royal fire. He looked up at the last remaining enemy fleet, 1,000 ships forming a wall across the stars. "They won't stop," the Queen said. Aiden nodded. "Then neither will we." He raised his hands. The palace ship roared to life, its wings of light spreading across the heavens. It wasn't just a vessel anymore. It was alive, breathing with the rhythm of two souls bound by destiny. The Council's fleet opened fire one last time. Aiden didn't move. He simply whispered, "End this." The sky turned white. A wave of golden energy expanded outward, erasing every weapon, every ship, every scream, until only silence remained once again. When the light faded, the Queen spoke softly inside his mind. "Now you see why I looked at you that way." Aiden smiled faintly, tears glowing on his cheeks. "Yeah," he whispered. "Now I do." And somewhere in the distance a new sun was born, bright and golden, burning with the fire of two hearts that refused to die. Silence. Golden dust drifted through the air like falling stars. The war was over, but the universe felt empty. Aiden floated above the ruins of the Council fleet, surrounded by a halo of soft light. The once endless armada had turned to glowing fragments, orbiting him like fireflies. In the distance, the palace ship pulsed faintly, cracked and fading. He could still hear her, faintly, softly, inside his mind. "Aiden, can you hear me?" He smiled weakly. "Always." Her voice trembled, almost human again. "The code is collapsing. The merge. It can't hold much longer." He looked around. Space itself seemed to flicker, as if the stars were blinking out one by one. "What's happening?" "Project Genesis is complete," she said. "The loop has ended. The code no longer needs us," he frowned. "Then what happens to us?" A long pause. Then her voice came quieter. "We fade," Aiden clenched his fists. "No, not again. We finally stopped them. We finally won." "We did," she said gently. "But every victory has a cost. The galaxy is reborn. It doesn't need its creators anymore." Aiden's vision blurred. The golden light around him dimmed, and for a moment he saw the reflection of his own face in the void, half human, half energy, glowing with the Queen's essence. "Aiden," she whispered, "listen to me. You can still live. The core will rebuild your body. You can go back," he shook his head. "Without you? Never. You promised me, remember?" she said softly. "You promised to finish what we started, not to die with it." Aiden closed his eyes. He remembered the promise, the field of red sky, the first time she smiled. The moment he said, "I'll bring life back to the stars." He sighed. "Then tell me how." "You must release me," she said. "End the connection. Let the code return to the universe," he froze. "If I do that, you'll disappear." "Not disappear," she whispered. "I'll become part of everything. The stars, the light, the life we dreamed of. That was always the plan." He shook his head, his voice breaking. "You'll be gone." Her tone softened like a memory fading into the wind. "Aiden, look at the sky." He lifted his gaze. The darkness of space was shifting. New stars were forming, hundreds, thousands, glowing golden like her eyes. Planets were rebuilding themselves. Oceans blooming from dust, light filling the emptiness once more. "You see," she said. "We did it." Tears burned down his face. "Then stay with me. Just a little longer." "I wish I could," she whispered. "But the code must balance itself. One soul cannot hold two hearts forever." He reached out, touching the air as if he could still feel her hand. "I don't want to lose you again." Her voice grew faint, like a fading song. "You never lost me. I was always there. Every time you looked at the stars. Every time you dreamed of something greater." The light around him began to break apart, tiny fragments of gold drifting into space. Her presence grew softer, lighter. "Aiden," she said one last time, "thank you for finding me again. You gave me life twice. That's more than any queen could ever ask." He whispered, "And you gave me something to believe in." The golden glow around him pulsed once, as if her heart had given one final beat. Then her voice faded completely. "Goodbye, my king." The light burst, beautiful and endless, scattering across the void. Aiden fell to his knees on the floating ruins, surrounded by silence. The palace was gone. The queen was gone. Only the new stars remained, each one shining with her warmth. He closed his eyes and whispered to the emptiness, "I never believed in royal beauty, until I saw her." The stars shimmered brighter as if answering him. Centuries later, explorers from the reborn colonies found that part of the sky, a cluster of golden stars shaped like a crown. And orbiting them, they discovered a single message encoded in an ancient voice. To the one who looked at me and remembered, "Thank you for keeping the promise." They called the star system Illyria, the realm of the lost queen. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the cosmos, a faint voice still whispered through the static, soft, eternal, and full of love. "Aiden, we did it.